Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily AI Show. This is May 30th, 2025, and today we have a really special show. Today we pause the fire hose and zoom out because over the last 2 weeks, some deeper patterns have started to take shape, not just headlines, but in the underlying shifts, not just what AI can do, but how it behaves. From tool unveilings to system quirks, we saw models surprise their makers, memory systems spill across conversations, jailbreaks redefine boundaries, and users, not vendors, become the real source of insight. So we're asking what actually mattered in AI over the last 2 weeks? Are we entering a phase where model behavior matters more than model size? What happens when memory becomes the UX? And who gets to decide if A is working? The dev team or the people using it every day? We definitely have opinions about that last question. This show, these fortnight of shows, these 9 shows, laid both a foundation and maybe a clarion call for more user defined, ethically grounded, and practically informed AI discourse, which is what you can expect on the Daily AI Show every day. Joining me today are Andy, Jyunmi, and Aaron, and this is the Daily AI Show. Okay, so I'm just gonna go quick through the shows that we did over the last 9 shows that we did. So we started with episode 466, Dear Class of AI. We explored the idea of what we'd actually teach a next generation model and what values and boundaries and examples really matter, but also what the people who are graduating right now need to know about life and business and each of our people gave some really great advice there. Um, so then we added there we go. Sorry. It's giving me wrong things. So then in 467 we yeah, I'm going to stop there because this entire summary that I had it right for me like seconds before we went on air, of course, just it's hallucinating the snot out of it. So just so you know, we're real people using AI and having real problems with AI too. All right, who's got something that they want to review? Is there something that sticks out from a previous show for y'all that is hanging in your memory? Andy, Junmi?
Well, nothing's hanging in my memory at the moment, obviously, but I do want to quickly draw attention to something that is a trend. As you said, there's certain things that are coming into focus and trends that are emerging, and the trend that I want to identify here is the advent of test time compute and advanced reasoning in models and what that's doing to both enable agency, but also increasing demand for GPUs because adding test time compute does that. So one of the little tidbits that I'm going to weave together here around this is that first that on May 28th, just 2 days ago, DeepSeek R10528 was released and jumped from place or jump from 60 to 68 in the index that measures artificial analysis intelligence, which requires this reasoning capability. What that does is it moves DeepSeek R1, which we haven't spent a lot of time, talking about recently because the closed models, the major frontier models, have been advancing, dramatically with the release of, and the I'll say dominance of, at least in my view, of Gemini's 2.5 Pro, the one that was released on 0506, I think. So just earlier this month. Well, anyway, DeepSeek R10528 on that index is basically equivalent to Gemini 2.5 Pro. And the thing that is notable about it is that increased intelligence, that reasoning capability, came from came without any changes to its architecture. It wasn't like a new dramatic improvement. It was in effect, fine tuning that model in various ways. And closing the gap between the open source models, of which DeepSeek R1 is now the top of the list, ahead of Llama, and NVIDIA's Llama Nematron Ultra, for example, Meta's Llama 4 Maverick, Alibaba Qwen. So we have this advance of reasoning. Now, simultaneous with that, there was NVIDIA's quarterly earnings report that came out on Wednesday, I think, as well, after the close of the market. And that was, despite the ban on sale of important chips to China, which was a major market for NVIDIA, it was strong enough that it really caused NVIDIA's stock price to basically recover most everything that it had lost and be in the 140 range, when its top valuation historically, it was at around 150 per share. That's the share price. And what NVIDIA reported was that there's been a shift from the inference costs that were, observed in data centers when, simple prompt response kinds of actions were happening, to the more complex reasoning, which drives a massive increase in the amount of inference test time compute that's necessary to actually deliver that kind of reasoning capability. And so they noted that hyperscalers, which are the ones who are building these very large data centers in order to accomplish this reasoning capability, are deploying 72,000 GPUs a week. That's the pace at which these advanced GPUs from NVIDIA and others are being deployed. Microsoft alone saw a 5-fold increase in token generation as a part of this progression towards reasoning models. So even though there's been this countervailing trend, which is, we're trying to make the models more efficient, we're using smaller models, that's going to reduce the token ingestion of these token factories, as Jensen Huang likes to call them. At the same time, reasoning is inflating the demand, and probably to a level that will be sustained for some period of time. So anyway, that's my observation about what's happening with reasoning. Also, I just wanted to quickly note that there's I haven't read it yet, but there's a very important person, Lilian Wang, who is one of the major thought leaders in AI on the engineering side. And she published earlier in May a whole blog article that goes deeply into technology beyond my understanding. But it's all about how this test time compute actually works, how chain of thought reasoning actually works to accomplish comparability to human reasoning processes. It's called Why We Think, and it's in her log, which is at lilianwang.github.io. So those of you who are really interested in a deep dive into the technical nature of what's happening in the emergence of these reasoning capabilities in models, that's what I'm going to read next. Or actually, I have to confess, I'll put into Notebook LM and ask it to tell me about what's going on in this very deep and technical paper.
Excellent. So I think I said who was here, but we have new people here. So let's just go through it again. That was Andy Halliday. Jyunmi Hatcher is with us. Aaron Malik is with us. Yay, all the way from Australia. It's night where he is, and he's basically talking to us from a darkened, silent room, it sounds like. But we'll get you back. And Karl just joined. Okay.
Yeah, great to not see you, Aaron.
I don't know what's going on. I mean, there's plenty of light in this room, but it looks like the camera's just dimming everything out. So I might have to do a little bit of playing around and figure out what's going on there. So I can't create the sunlight outside, unfortunately. So.
Well, to follow up, I do have a story that I just came across today. And I wanted to bring it up because I think one or more of our group here might be interested in. All right, here we go. From the University of Bristol, horses main inspiration for new generation of social robots. Interactive robots should not just be passive companions, but active partners, like therapy horses who respond to human emotions, say researchers. So, if you didn't know, there's something called equine assistant interventions, and they offer a powerful alternative to traditional talking therapies for patients with PTSD, trauma, autism, or any kind of struggles. So this study from the University of Bristol was presented at the CHI 2025 conference. The conference talks about human factors in computing systems, and apparently it's this one was held in Yokohama, which is a lovely city. But the idea is that most social robots today are designed to be like obedient and predictable, right? They just follow commands and they prioritize the user's comfort. But the research challenges that assumptions. They, when an EAI communicate with humans, they communicate through like body language, emotional energy, things like that. And the horse is going to resist those cues because it's unregulated, unless the individual is calm and clear and confident. This living mirror kind of concept, right? So the researchers have their study is about how by taking how horse therapy, EAIs, how they function and their methodology of therapy can inform and build upon to develop the therapeutic or emotional response in robots and other embodied AI. So this is another example of taking cues from the quote unquote natural world and seeing how that can apply to robotics, to AI. So not only are we using like the human mind to help map and build out AI thinking and reasoning capabilities, but in this emotional quotient side of things, this emotional intelligence side of things, we can see that there's plenty of examples to build upon, that we're seeing these are positive things to build into our future of robotics and AI. So, is there any comment or interest or insight into therapy horses?
Well, I have a weave into robotics though.
Okay.
AI robotic horses.
Okay, but wait, Andy, say why we're all looking at you and like,
Yeah,
well, you want to say something about it.
Yeah, so I apparently I have horses who need therapy. I think that's what the point is, right? Yeah, yeah, we have horses, and I find that very interesting. I would say overall, our approach to horsemanship is much more natural and nature oriented, and in any intersection with robotics and horses doesn't make a lot of sense to me in that context. But anyway,
But
tell me, how could we apply it?
no, but your wife, right, runs a foundation that is about this kind of emotional intelligence in horses. Yes?
Absolutely, that's right, and using the real live animals. Yeah,
Yes.
because because horses are a very empathic creatures, because of their evolution as a herd, a prey animal and a herd-oriented society. They have very refined capabilities and sensibilities about what the emotional and and activity state is of any creature around them. And that makes them a really great sort of model for understanding what your own internal reactions are. And so the idea of using ground-based, not riding-oriented, but ground-based interactions with horses is at the heart of what Horse and Heart, no pun intended there, which you can see at horseandheart.org, which is that nonprofit that does consensual and emotional horsemanship as an instructive therapy for people who are dealing with various traumas and other disabilities. Thank you for that opportunity to pitch that. But very interesting. And please provide the link to that, and I'll share that with Lori. But I wanted to just quickly do the pivot over to humanoid robots, and recently, not very recently, but a while back, the open source aggregator company called Hugging Face acquired a robotics company called Pollen. And just yesterday, they announced a pair of open source robots and the device itself, the robots, becoming available. And they offer up two robots, Hope Jr. and Richie Mini. Hope Jr. is a full-size humanoid robot with 66 actuated degrees of freedom and 66 independent movements, including the ability to walk and move its arms. And Richie Mini is a desktop unit, can move its head, talk, listen, and be used to test AI robotic apps. So why is this really important? Well, that walking, manipulating robot that's open source is going to cost under $3,000. So and there's a video on TechCrunch.com announcing this. So you can see the video on TechCrunch.com from yesterday. And so we're seeing a very low cost platform for experimentation with robots coming from this open source sort of hub that is Hugging Face.
Nice. A robot that costs less than $3,000 that's open source that we can build upon. I mean, yes. Talk about lowering those barriers. I mean,
and it can walk.
And it can walk, right? 66 points of articulation. That sounds pretty awesome because I mean, I was already excited that I could probably get a Chinese robot for about 15K or 16K. Compared to like the Optimus ones that are going to be like 30 or 40K. So I don't know. I'm just waiting for the point where the robots are large enough and strong enough to where I can use them as a personal vehicle.
Okay. But there's a robot from the Pollen community. And I'll see if I can pull it up because I did not think we were going to be doing this right now. But this is welcome to the recap show where anything goes. It's a grab bag. Somebody says something and we all go in that direction. Pollen robot is very is small, meant to be a desktop robot. And they built it. The initial story was that they built it, I think, for under $250, and it was looking to retail for about €300, which would be $340 US, and about 17,482 for both Karl and Aaron, because they're not US based or Europe based. Speaking of Aaron, hey. Do you want to, what have you been up to? It's been a really long time.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Sorry I've been absent. Just a quick shout out to a couple of the commenters. Hi, Cisco. I can't see you, but great to quote unquote see you. Same to Jen. Thanks, Jen, for the comments. I have been busy working. I got a job, a real job, working for a medium-sized Australian consulting business, and we do a lot in the AI space. So I hope to bring you a lot more bits and pieces about that over time within the limits of my contract, so I can't talk about anything too specific. But anyway, other than that, just been doing that. So that's been really full on hard work. And tonight, prior to turning up to the show, my partner and I had to rush our cat to the emergency vet for an unexpected injury. So that was nearly $1,000 visit. As far as the AI stuff goes, I think my comment for the last couple of weeks, although I haven't had time to review everything that you guys have talked about, was just around Claude 4. So I only had the free one, which is Sonnet from memory. And so I just went to it and basically asked it a question around a medical topic. And very much to my surprise, it didn't just give me a few ideas to try. It literally built like a tracking app in there where I could track results and test, does this work? Does that work? Like, I was blown away with what it did compared to the last time I used it. I don't, as I said, I don't yet have a paid plan because ChatGPT keeps me pretty busy. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with what it did there, and I'm very excited to see where that kind of stuff will probably end up coming into ChatGPT as well at some stage. Beyond that, not much else to report except that it's winter and raining here, nearly winter and raining. Great to see you all, by the way.
Thanks. Great to see you too. All right. Yay. Congrats on the job. Yes, to Claude. And it's nice that Claude gives you I don't think you get access. Do you get access? We discussed this on the show this week. You don't get access to the Opus, but you do get access to the Sonnet. And
Yes.
I would like to say that Jyunmi started to shake his head before I finished the sentence because we are also telepathic and know what the other one is going to say at this point. So, yay. Thank
Yeah.
you for the telepathy.
Just on the Claude I've got on the screen at the moment, when I click the drop down, it says Opus is the pro version you've got to pay for. Sonnet is the free one I seem to be able to use. So I don't know how different they are. I haven't used the pro one, obviously.
And Gareth, what part? Gareth is asking what part of Australia, and you are from
Perth, Western Australia.
Cool.
And thank you, Justin, for the comment about the cat.
Yeah. All right.
Everyone opens Zaren's LinkedIn. Oh boy. Good to have the commenters back again. I missed you all.
So I think we'll talk about it next week, but or in the coming weeks. But Andy and Karl, you were both discussing a potential reveal of Claude Opus's system prompt that showed up on GitHub. You guys were referencing other people talking about it, but that's where this system prompt potentially came up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Karl? You're just going to shake your head? No. We are in the thing where we can't hear you. And we will not be, nope, we will not be translating the potential Canadian profanity. There we go.
Well,
Oh, no, that's Andy. Sorry.
that's me. I just wanted to, I'll fill some airtime here while Karl tries to get his audio back online here. Greg Walters, in the chat asked, do you think horses have insight because of visual cues? And so we're going to do a little tangent here on the horse's visual system. Horses have 360-degree vision. Their irises, if you ever look at a very close-up look at the eye, they don't have a round pupil like we do. They have a horizontal pupil, and their eyes are mounted on the sides of their head. So they can see through that horizontal pupil directly behind them while looking straight ahead. And they can see, of course, straight ahead, but they don't have, because of those horizontally oriented and horizontally, literally it's like a rectangle pupil. They don't focus except very narrowly down toward the end of their nose. Their overall vision is very much like our peripheral vision, but very, very sensitive in every degree of that 360 degrees. So they see and they feel because of the nature of their sort of overall sensory system, their Umwelt, as it's called. They see and sense things that we can't imagine really, because we're so focused on looking at and interpreting something that's at a point in our direction of gaze. So yes, they have extraordinary sight that does empower many of their empathic capabilities, and a very special visual system that was evolved because they're a prey animal and have to be immediately and continuously vigilant for any kind of movement around them, surrounding each single one in the herd. And then they also have a kind of telepathic communication to bring telepathy back into the conversation within the herd. So you know how almost instantaneously, as one horse in the herd starts moving in a certain direction or has one of the signals that are interpreted by the rest of the herd, they move almost like a school of fish. They don't get confused and disrupted very easily because of this interconnectedness among the horses in a herd. And by the way, as humans, we very rarely see their herd behaviors because we don't keep them in herds. We keep them singly and separated from other horses, and that's unnatural. So herd dynamics are really important that way. There you go. Karl, are you back?
I don't know. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
We
Yes,
are.
you're back.
We got to move off this thing. This thing stinks.
Uh,
Um,
yes.
okay. So the reason why I went, I didn't even see the system prompt. What I'm more interested in is what Nate Jones was talking about, how really two big key things that he took from that, and how Anthropic actually played it was more of like, when he saw the system prompt, it was like two big things. One is, which I've done before, because I've noticed if there's a very key instruction you want in your prompt, you repeat it multiple times. And I don't know how many thousand tokens this prompt was. I think I can't remember, like 4,000 tokens, but there was a repetition for very specific key instructions. So if you have a very long prompt, you just put those instructions over and over again so it remembers. And then the other one, which is really great, was that there was three things they included into it. And I this is something I want to build for some of the RAG projects that I have with some clients, is if it's timeless information, just answer it. If it's slow changing information, answer it, but offer to verify. And if it's live or volatile information, like the stock market, immediately search and don't answer. So those three things, I'm going to take that and apply that to some of my client work, which is pretty fantastic, because based on the question you get, sometimes I would prompt specific things, but now just with that overview, it's like, oh, that answers some questions too. And I briefly tested it before I went to sleep last night, or I think this morning, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah. When I came across that story, it just clicked for me as well. He says it's every 500 tokens or something like that, if I'm correct. But those three steps that you talked about, I think adding that to any of our prompt generating process, we're going to see some great returns on that.
Yeah, I just comment on one of the things that I think will be improved as a result of this new insight into how to prompt transformers is the reliability of instruction following, right? Because we thought, okay, if I just give it an instruction within my prompt, it should follow that, and it's gotten better at that. But now this repetition to aid the recall of the instruction is going to significantly improve many of the prompts that we've built, and probably need to go back and if there was a lack of reliability around certain instruction following, then this repetition should be added in order to improve that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the three-staged very simple expression of how to respond will improve the reliability and speed of responses, because it's basically shortcutting a more complex reasoning process that would have to be applied by the transformer model in order to get to the right response. Now it's got a clear instruction about how to handle the simple logic of this sort of temporal based, variability of the data that's coming in.
Yeah, and I think like with there's rumors that you kind of saw it. I think Tibor kind of showed it, was that like you can now change models in on your custom GPTs, or that's coming pretty quick, with the ability to do that, plus the ability to search, and then just I think I beat my head on so many specific unique use cases for specific clients or specific things that they wanted answered or not answered. But this solves a lot, because it's like, oh, timeless information. Oh, that makes sense. But now the way that you actually think about things, it's like, hey, can I group things into buckets rather than like here you've grouped it into literally 3 buckets. So can I group things into bigger buckets if I'm trying to do something as well? So like, yeah, I did find that repeat instructions throughout prompts, that works quite a bit. If I want to, there was a something where I wanted this digital assistant to always use this company's brand voice in its response, and for some odd reason, if I put it once, it wouldn't work. If I put it in twice, I wouldn't work. But I laid it out in instructions throughout the prompt, and it did. So it's like, hey, I laid it out like 5 times, and it never clued in, be like, oh, that actually makes sense to do it. So it keeps reading it as it goes through over and over and over and over again. It's simple, but it's like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense.
These are the kinds of techniques that that I'm usually referring to when I want foundational AI manufacturers or designers or developers to, if you're going to come out with a new model or a new application of a model, then bring out your guide in parallel, right? This kind of technique of repetitive iteration is not, I don't think that's secret sauce or, trade secrets or anything like that. That's a methodology that should be able to be replicated no matter the model, right? So if we had this kind of guide or output that came out in tandem, I know sometimes afterward there's a release, but in tandem would be ideal. But hopes and dreams. Okay.
Okay, I want to jump on something that is actually coming into the chat. There's some discussion about the love for perplexity, and there's now increasing reasons to fall deeply in love with perplexity. Perplexity, just in the last couple of days, announced Perplexity Labs. Now, that's just an overarching term to collect 3 major new features that Perplexity has brought forth. Okay, the first one is Sheets Generation. That's a tool that combines web searching, code execution, and chart generation features to produce high-quality analytical reports and visual representations. So if you're looking to integrate that kind of functionality into workflows, Perplexity now offers seamless connection with platforms like Google Sheets, allowing for automated research and data population, coupled with the ability to generate graphical analysis based on reasoning in the Perplexity models. So this enables something that like interactive dashboard creation, which is another one of the features that they offer now. And you see this being offered to professional users, but it has potentially applications for personal finance and so on. So you can create a dynamic interactive dashboard in Perplexity now that doesn't require any external coding at all. It's going to all be done no code inside Perplexity. So it can take data and create visually compelling and functional displays that update in real time based on user interactions with it. And subscribers can build dashboards that visualize business finances, I can't even speak, population distributions across geographic regions or other complex data sets. So dashboard creation ability. That's this combination of tools that way is pretty interesting to me. So AI powered spreadsheet generation in addition. So if you want to allow Perplexity to do a deep research and collect data and then put it into Google Sheets and then create visualizations around that, this is a workflow process that Perplexity is building into their platform. And that's quite different from the core original premise of what Perplexity was as distinct from Google, which is, hey, let's just get the answer back from a deep search across the web simultaneously with, an AI conversational model that allows you to do this in natural language interaction. And they also added one other thing, which is they have a new deep think kind of feature, which produces a 10-minute research workflow. So Perplexity's deep research, would typically come back within a minute or so. This one will go deeper than that with autonomous research and data analysis. So if you invoke this 10-minute research workflow, it's going to go really deep and think deeply about it. So we're seeing this expansion of reasoning that I referred to at the beginning of the show being added to Perplexity, and Perplexity, which is already a highly desirable addition to your quiver of AI tools, is now even that much more powerful and applied to specific use cases that I think will be useful to everyone.
That's amazing.
What's the price?
20. It's
That's
Perplexity. It's part of Perplexity's Pro plan.
Okay. They're not going to create a new $200 level or anything like that. Okay. All right. That's
give them time, man.
I do think this, to me, this kind of, I don't know if it's a reaction to or response to, but so I have a subscription to GenSpark, and I think a couple of weeks ago they released GenSpark for slides and then GenSpark for something else. But what you've just described is exactly what GenSpark can do. And then a couple days ago, I saw Manus just released Manus for slides. So I think they're all kind of playing in the same space. Because I do kind of worry for Perplexity, right? Because it's like, while you have all these models, I was like, what? I know you are from a arena, like Olympus Arena leaderboard, you are number 2 from a web search perspective. But if that's your only play, I think you're in trouble, because like I'm finding less and less I go to Perplexity because I have I was like, oh, well, any model I can just search, right? Grok, Gemini, just you can have search there. GenSpark, you can have search. So why would I default to Perplexity? What would be other reasons to do so? So I think it's important for some of these things, right? In GenSpark, you have slides and sheets, right? You have the deep research, you have Call for Me, you have your super agent. So, and then I know Perplexity just is testing out their Comet agentic browsing too. So curious to see where they are going in the space with so many other tools kind of doing maybe the same thing.
So one of the things that I love about Perplexity that I think isn't a moat, but it is a reason if you're a subscriber to stay subscribed, is how dialed in they are in their user base. So 2 days ago, maybe there, Aravind Srinivas, who is the CEO That may not be his title, but he is the face and leader. Let's just say that. He put a post on X asking about the system, about the cards, right, that show you your finances and your sports teams and all that. He's like, hey, should those be something, or should they go away? And literally everyone was like, take them off, take them off. I don't want there to be there. I want an option, right? The people who were saying like keep them were like, but give people a toggle so that they can take them off or on. And in this update that includes labs and what Andy's talking about, the cards are gone, at least on my system. So that I think is very interesting, because I will stay. You can have my $20 if you are listening this hard to the people that are your users. And as we've seen with us, when you have that relationship with your users proselytize your service. Because every time since Andy, the original reason that DOS got into Perplexity was because we did a show on, if you had $100, what would you spend it on? And Andy had Perplexity. And we're like, Perplexity? What is happening? We must know about this. Since then, almost everyone has had Perplexity on the recaps of that show when we touch that idea again. I really like them. What I would like is them to come out with the updated DeepSeek, so that it has this new feature that Andy was talking about where it's using more test time compute. And the reason that I want that is that Perplexity, when DeepSeek R1 first came out, and you could see that like it wasn't giving you answers about Tiananmen Square, and there was some like your information is totally going to China if that's where the model is, but it was also open sourced. So Perplexity, the people behind Perplexity created a unblocked version, right? So that it whatever it did, it removed those things or added more instructions to give answers about the kinds of things that the original R1 weren't responding about, and they called that model 1776, so it's R1 1776. I would like 1777 or whatever the new one is going to be that is based on the May 28th. But if they've been inventing custom dashboards and a whole agentic browser, I will allow, but still I would very much like the new R1, please.
So does
the
this
thing I would say about Perplexity, and it's a minor point, is number one, I use it like ChatGPT's got search and all that kind of stuff. I don't use that at all. I always go to Perplexity nowadays, except for if I need Google Maps or something. So even just the free aspect, I still think it's a great tool. And it's one of the tools I would consider paying for. I just haven't had a use case for it at this point.
So do you think this move to adding BI capabilities does this put them in direct conflict or competition with OpenAI? Because OpenAI's move is, B2C. It's to attract and keep customers on the platform using all of the features from OpenAI, using ChatGPT, and that's what Canvas sort of goes towards, and just replacing your productivity tools. BI, spreadsheets, that kind of stuff, that's all productivity tools. So, I've always seen Perplexity as a alternative to Google, right? The main Google product, right? Searches, getting information retrieval, that kind of thing. And like Karl said, it becomes more and more difficult to ask you the question is, if I live in ChatGPT and it can do all the searches for me, or if I live in Claude and it can search now, do I need to have that separate tool? So I'm wondering if they're positioning themselves as the all-in-one platform. That's what these moves are. And like you said, Beth, about the new browser, the agentic browser, is this going to allow them to compete on that level? Because they're considerably smaller than the rest of them, right? Even in market share or awareness. But I think the key thing here that I want to see from them, if they are moving to this space, is I need it to be easier for me. So can this agentic browser become my agent? Can I have a Perplexity agent? And can it be like Netflix and live on every piece of hardware that I need to, or access from every piece of hardware?
Well,
But I think
speaking,
I like
this answers Karl's concern, which is, I think that eventually, and maybe not too late, you'll see truly agentic features in Perplexity that will make it indistinguishable from Manus and GenSpark in its ability to go out and perform long form tasks for you using all of the tools that Perplexity is built around their core, web search functionality. That's where it started. And then, adding many different model capabilities and multiple model access. Whereas I don't believe with either Manus or GenSpark, you can choose the model, for example, that
You
you're
can.
working with. Oh, you can?
You can.
Yeah. I also bought a subscription to GenSpark, the annual subscription to GenSpark, because I was so impressed with how completely it solved a very difficult problem for me in one shot. Right. So these kinds of agents, but think about how aligned that capability is, what GenSpark did for me, that said, okay, I'm going to put down for that.
Mm-hmm.
And what Perplexity's original sort of foundational principle is, which is, don't make me go through a whole bunch of links to figure out what's valid and what's not, and what's sponsored and what's not. Just give me the answer, collect the answer for me, and present it to me in a coherent way. And that is what an agent ought to do. So I think they have a good alignment that way. I believe they will come out with increasingly agentic features. And I'm still curious and unclear about how that works in a specific browser, a separate browser than Chrome, which is what populates my desktop with far too many tabs open at any one time. So will I add Comet to my desktop? Why? And what will that Comet agentic browser offer that Chrome doesn't? Or will Google simply supersede, whatever the Comet browser can do by adding something to Chrome, whether it's an extension or an inherent capability of Chrome to do that sort of thing?
And they're also competing with things like Arc browser, right? Like Arc browser, I have that as my default on my phone, just because I kind of like the pinch and some of the neat features there. But it's interesting because the space is getting really, really crowded, and there's more and more type GenSpark type companies like Flowwith. Just recently said, no more you don't have any more invite codes. You could just, I think you can go and try it for how many credits you get. And like I'm seeing on X more and more and more launches of different companies as hard to keep up. Like there's one company called Fairies I just downloaded where it's fully controlling essentially my desktop. So I'm like, hey, open my Finder, open this, do this, do this. And it does it. And I'm like, that's freaking amazing. I want to try that. So, but there's lots of these, but it's just super it's crazy. Every single day, there's something new that you can do more and more stuff with it. So I thought Perplexity they have to do something to differentiate or maintain the hold on their user base, because there's so many things coming out, and who knows what the big labs will have. Like you saw Project Mariner, Project Astro, but I'm sure all of them have something coming up, and rumors of Operator V2 is coming out. Operator now runs on O3, which I've noticed the difference on how it actually pulls is pretty good. So many different things from an agency perspective. I can only imagine I don't know if we'll have a blowout in September, like in the fall, where everybody just launches the craziest stuff, where we got at the beginning of the year where everyone's launching everything. That was the same. I could only imagine at the end fall, or maybe forget fall, maybe within the next couple months, it's you know what, forget this. Everyone's launching their agentic, like real agency kind of stuff, which is kind of crazy.
Well, it's June next week,
Yeah.
right?
It's-
And but wasn't that part of the thought that ChatGPT was thinking maybe GPT-5
something,
in
something,
early summer? And we were talking about
something.
June. I don't
Yeah.
know. They said June, but also I
It's-
don't
it's-
know that they're needing to rush to release something, but maybe. Jimmy, what are you gonna say?
Well, it seems pretty clear to me that the AI world runs on a quarterly system now. Before, like we could expect like Apple to have their WWDC, they announce everything, and then in fall they release their products. But that cycle has been blown out of the water. Every cycle we've had a whole bunch of stuff for the end of spring. Now, and it kind of caps with WWDC, right? Summer, they'll do a major release in the summer that they're talking about. And then in the fall, we all know that the fall is crazy. And I don't know how that trend or tradition started. It happened with OpenAI. That's what it did. But that started up. And then there's always some crazy winter thing that comes out, whether it be, 12 days of OpenAI or whatever, or a silent drop from DeepSeek. It's like, oh yeah, I know you guys are all on vacation, but here, blow everything out of the water for, super cheap. These things are happening every 3 months. So the cycle is a 3-month cycle. So I don't think we get annual stuff anymore, or biannual stuff anymore. I think every 3 months expect some huge thing to always happen, and that's exhausting. But
Okay.
I'm willing to make that sacrifice for all of you in chat and our viewers. So stick with us, because I'm gonna do it so that you don't have to.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
So we have a bunch of things coming up, but you mentioned Apple, and I discovered that Apple Intelligence is on my iPhone somewhat functionally. It goes to there is a thing. Have you guys played with it? There is a
Yes,
button.
it just turned on when it heard you. It heard you, and on my phone, I was like, and it's funny because so at our house we have
Androids. Beth.
Why would Apple Intelligence be the wake word, right? Like, come on.
I don't know. It's kind of I'm not sure,
because everyone turns off the Siri wake word.
Now stop, Jyunmi. You're gonna get her all upset. It's connected to my ChatGPT. So
It wasn't me, I promise.
What happened to everything?
You were the one who left.
No, everybody left.
Everybody left. Everybody
left.
That was Apple. That was Apple being hey.
Every time we do a hot take on somebody or some organization, this seems to happen. I'm just saying, I know it's not correlation is not causation, but
all right. Well, we're running out of time now, but Karl, I wanted you to just repeat the name of the product that you're describing that's actually operating like Operator in your browser and taking care of things on the desktop.
Oh, it's called Fairies.
How do you spell it?
Like the little fairy.
Like Fairies. F-A-I-R-I. Like I can't even spell it. God.
Okay.
It's just Fairies. I just don't know.
Because it has AI in it already. That's hilarious.
Yes, just go Fairies AI. You can download it. It says like something accessibility. Yes, just say yes, and then all you do, because I use WhisperFlow just to talk. So like, yeah, I want you to open Chrome, open a Chrome tab browser, go to YouTube, do this, and it does it, and it's like, oh damn, that's kind of fun.
Now, do you need to have Whisper as the voice interface?
No. You normally would type it.
Yeah.
Like just type whatever you want and it'll go do whatever you try. But yeah, Fairies AI. So give that a shot. I think it's Fairies AI. Is that it? Yeah, that's it.
Magic.
That's it.
Fairies.altera.ai.
No,
no, it's fairies.ai. I don't know what Altera is.
If it's FAIRIES.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
.ai.
Okay.
They
Okay.
have a Mac they have downloads for Mac and Windows.
Yeah.
This is, I'm just going to highlight, this is one of the benefits of the Daily AI show, because we're all learning from each other. This is why we're asking the questions like, Karl, what is it doing? Where do you get it? What's the thing? So we hope that you join us. We have great shows coming up next week, but we have so many great things happening today. In just about an hour, we are doing a vibe coding live, DOS, which is how we refer to ourselves because it's Daily AI show. DOS vibe coding live with Karl and Jyunmi and me and maybe Andy and hopefully all of you. We are focusing on.
send me the
Oh, cool. Maybe Aaron, because it's the
link.
weekend,
I
so he
might even
doesn't
come.
need any sleep.
Because he doesn't sleep this
Long weekend. It's the long weekend, actually. We got 3 days.
Oh, awesome. So we're going to be focusing on a DOS website. Maybe the DOS website would be delightful. We also know that we need a better one of those. And then so that's at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Then at 4 Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, we have the Sci-Fi AI show, and we are talking about what sci-fi got wrong about AI. Is hell a lie, right? Like what is happening? Let's dive deep into that. We also, I'm curious, do you like these shows, these kind of loose shows where we're just free flowing, somebody brings something, we know what we're gonna like open with, but we have no idea where the conversation goes? And if you're a dedicated follower, you may be asking, how is that different than our regular shows? But it is kind of different than our regular shows. So we would like to know if you are enjoying this kind of format and would like more. And yeah, you can find us at thedailyAIshow.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Come join the conversation happening in the Slack. Lots of great things happening in the Slack. And you can do that at thedailyAIshowcommunity.com and get connected with all of our great chat people. Thank you for our what is this? Is this our 6th man, 10th man? I don't know what that is. And of course, they're not all men in the chat, in the community chat. All right. That is happening. For those who are joining us at the Vibe Code, we'll see you in an hour. Thanks, everybody.
Aloha.
I'll